What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a brand new video. Now today you joined me for another car review, and as you can see behind me we have the AW Polo GTI and we're going to be doing a review on it. Now there's a bit of a series going on here. We've recently done a review on the 6C Polo GTI and I just thought I should revisit all the current latest Polo GTIs, that is the 6C, the AW and the AW Facelift, to see what they're all about. So in today's video it's all about the AW pre-facelift. So I really do hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's jump right into it. So then the AW pre-facelift. Now these cars first hit the market around 2018. Now up front you see on the bonnet you have these actually four very strong creases, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the other side, and they do help make the car look very aggressive. So you have slimmer and wider headlights compared to the 6C, and these are full LED with integrated daytime running lights with a kind of L shape that also goes into some kind of hexagonal shape type of styling. Even inside the headlight unit you have some kind of hexagons inside there, which looks really cool. Now you have the traditional red GTI strip, and I think on this car it looks much brighter and more vibrant than on the 6C. You have the newer badging in red with red inserts rather, as opposed to the full chrome one that you get on the 6C. Honeycomb grille at the top part, honeycomb grille down here as well. You have integrated fog lights and this gloss black touch down here, which does help make the car look really nice. If we come to the side, 18-inch rims. One thing I'll give VW credit for is they always come up with really nice rims on the GTIs. Like literally every generation always gets really nice rims. Even the facelift AW has its own unique, very beautiful rims. 18 inches, 215mm section tires all round, that is red brake calipers because GTI. At the back, roof spoiler, which is broken apart by this gloss black touch, and it has this kind of devil horned split in the middle, which does look cool. GTI badging here. I think around 2020 they did a refresh where the badging was moved from the left to just below the VW badge. Yeah, so twin exhaust tailpipes down here. You also have this honeycomb effect going on down there on the rear bumper. So full LED tail lights, which do look really nice, and in my opinion the rear of this I think just looks slightly better than on the facelift, because I feel like the tail lights on the facelift are a little bit too big for the car, for the design. But anyways, let's check out the interior. So the interior on the AW. Now this was the era where VW was starting to lean towards the digital side of things. You'll notice the digital driver info screen and the kind of seamless infotainment screen that looks like it just blends into the dashboard. So for one, you have GTI down on the dorsal, GTI badging that is. You have newly designed sports seats which look cooler, and they almost look like the headrest is integrated into the base of the seat, but it's actually adjustable. Can I show you guys? Oh well, I'll insert a clip to show you guys, but yeah, they look cooler. There's one thing that I said in the 6C video, and that is I wished they did some red stitching just to help lift it more and to make it more in line with the GTI theme. So in here they actually did that. So this car has red stitching all over the seats, the steering wheel, and so forth. You'll also notice that this one has the optional red trim, so you get this red on the dashboard. You also get some red touches right here on the center console and slightly on the door part along the handle area. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be up to everybody's taste, but it does help lift up the interior a bit. Now I'll put the car on for a bit just so I can rotate the steering wheel. Now of course GTI sports steering wheel, which is flat bottom. There's a GTI badge at the bottom. Now this driver info screen, you can have a whole bunch of stuff show up here. You can have a full map. There's a button that says view. You click on it and you can switch to all sorts of views. You can have a kind of minimalistic view that's less distracting. You can go for, you know, a sort of data oriented view that shows you like your fuel consumption, your range, and so forth. And like I said, you can have a full map, and you can have the conventional view of a ref counter and the speedo. So it's, yeah, somewhat customizable. It's certainly cool. Resolution is pretty high, which is good. And yeah, that's, yeah, nothing more to add to that. Infotainment screen, you do get stuff like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is all cool. The infotainment itself is, I mean, it's all touch screen. You do have some shortcut keys on the left side and the right side, like your media button, radio, phone. You don't need music right now. Phone, voice control, sound, whatever. Climate controls are a little bit more generic. I mean, yeah, they could have done something cooler since they're adopting the kind of digital look styling, but I guess they did that in the facelift. So yeah, more conventional climate controls, which do look kind of old school. You have 2 USB ports down here, and on the center console, this one being DSG, you have the DSG lever, and there are a couple of interesting buttons here. Your engine start stop button for turning the feature on and off. You have a traction control button, driving mode button, park assist button, and button to switch on and off the parking sensor. Being a Polo, you get a traditional handbrake, whereas in the Golfs and stuff you get the electronic handbrake. So I guess for doing handbrake turns in the Polo GTI. But yeah, the interior I would rate, it's a great evolution from the 6C, and yeah, pretty modern enough. Let's actually check out the room in the back seat. So the back seat, now all I have to say is that the room back here is doable. It's still very nice back here. You still get the leather, you still get the red stitching, which is quite nice. Headroom is actually quite a lot. Like, there's a lot of headroom. Legroom maybe a bit tight, especially for very tall people, but yeah, there's a lot of space for your feet, and yeah, you can move around your feet. Let's check out the boot space. So the boot, this is 305 liters of boot space, and as you can see, the shape is quite squared off, makes it easy to load stuff in and out. There's also a very small loading lip, once again making it easy to load stuff in and out. There's also an underfloor where you find the battery, and it looks like there's a shaping for a spare wheel. Maybe that's where you get your subwoofer when you get the upgraded sound system, which is the Beats audio system. But yeah, nothing interesting to see here. Let's talk about the engine details on this car. Okay, so the engine. Now, the AW gets an all-new motor and an all-new gearbox. Out goes the 1.8 motor, in comes the new 2-liter motor, which is the EA888. Now, it's a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder motor pushing about 147 kilowatts, which is around 200 matrix horsepower, and 320 newton meters of torque. Now, the gearbox is now a 6-speed as opposed to the 7-speed and the 6C, but this is an all-new wet sump gearbox as opposed to the older dry sump, so it's more reliable and it's more durable. So yeah, double clutch system still, and yeah, the performance, this does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in about 6.6 seconds. So now let's actually experience how that 6.6 seconds feels like. Let's jump into the driver's seat. So I'm going to drive in sport and manual, and let's have our first acceleration. Okay, the first few things I've noticed while driving this car is that when maneuvering, the brakes can be quite grabby and the gearbox is a bit jerky, so they do take some getting used to, but nothing too bad. a few minutes into the car driving around, you're instantly used to how it reacts and so forth. Something which is a very big talking point on this car is the sound isn't quite as good as on the 6C. Like, this is a bit dialed down. And let me close my windows a bit for this part of the video. And so the owner has told me that there's this one time where he took the car in for service, and VW apparently started applying some kind of software on these cars which killed off the burbles, because when these first came out in 2018, they had burbles on the overrun, which sounded quite cool, and it was the upper edge for this car compared to the 6C, because the 6C doesn't have burbles. It just sounds very good and it pops on upshifts, so which is quite cool. But this one had burbles. But yeah, long story short, the sound isn't quite as good, doesn't burble anymore, and it doesn't quite feel as raspy as on the 6C. But in terms of driving experience, it also feels quite a bit dialed down or more mature in a sense, because the gearbox, for one, it's just clinical. On the 6C, when you have it in sports and manual, during upshifts, the car also jerks you a bit and it feels very mechanical, it feels very aggressive. This just shifts. Yeah, it's still fun to drive. I mean, it's a GTI, especially in the like handling department and so on. It certainly is sporty to drive, but you do notice all the stuff that they've taken away that we loved about the 6C. Also on upshifts, the pop is it's muted really. Yeah, it's really muted. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of enthusiasts that say the 6C is the most fun, most engaging, and yeah, more aggressive kind of driving experience, and I agree. You do feel that when driving this car. But where this car has another upper edge is in the performance department. Now, this is a bigger engine, it's got more power, and it's got more torque, and the torque is what you really notice. Now, the 6C has 250 Newton meters of torque. This has 320, and man, it is very punchy, especially low down. It just holds and pulls and pulls and pulls. I'll try one acceleration. Also, a lot of the sound does feel like it's pumped in through the speakers, although it only comes from the back, so I don't know what kind of magic they've managed to work out. But yeah, it sounds cool. You also get a lot of induction noise from the front. I doubt you guys will hear it on camera, but in person it's quite audible. I mean, it's still very fun. Like, you can toss it around still, like on the 6C. It just doesn't have the aggressive gearbox, and yeah, it just feels a bit more clinical, but still fun. Is it fast? Man, it's very explosive. It's really explosive. They've really improved on the performance. You can tell this is an all-new engine, or it's a different engine to the 6Cs. So props in terms of that. Well, the pedals are still as engaging as in the 6C. Very responsive on upshifts. When you touch the pedal, instantly you get the next gear. Very responsive on both upshifts and downshifts. So I'm glad that's still the case. Another improvement is on the suspension. Now, the suspension still feels quite as sporty as on the 6C, but it's not as crashy as it was. On the 6C, it can be quite harsh and crashy, and the whole chassis just creaks inside the car. In here, it's sublime, but it still feels sophisticated, sporty, and on the edge. But man, this thing is fast. Yo! Jeez, the performance is insane. It's really, really fast. I'll do another acceleration now. Woo! Jeez, it's so fast. So I'm interested to see how the AW Facelift compares, and that is the car that we're going to be doing next on this series. So I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until next time, that's cheers from me.